All right, we begin tonight from the third Ghana CEO Summit, where Chief Executive of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Paul Ansa, has attributed the slow growth of the country's export sector to the inability of exporters to access credit facilities with low interest rates. According to him, the traffic at the ports is mainly for imports and international transit trade. Paul Ansa made the revelation during the panel discussion at the third Ghana CEO Summit in Accra.
Out of the 1 million EUs, that is 20-footer containers, 484,000 are export containers, and only 25% are loaded containers. Wow. 25% are exported empty, which is a clear indication of how imbalanced our trade is against exports, and the need for us to do everything that we can to grow the export sector. So the trade is heavily imbalanced.
Wow, that's such a big problem. But you continue. I wanted to get some comments on that, but you go on.
Absolutely. And so it was about a month ago when we gathered all the actors involved in the export sector in our boardroom at the port to find out why the export sector is not growing. And it was interesting. That is not to say that...
so why is the export sector not growing?
Of course, the export sector is suffering from credit.
Credit?
Absolutely. The cost of credit is making it... I'm not saying they are not having assets. They are having assets, but the cost of credit to manufacture at competitive and export at competitive rates within the international arena, that is a problem. And then also the exporters... the level of support that they need from the state agencies required to ensure that they grow. That is also, it was very evident, the meeting that we had, that the level of collaboration between the private sector and the public sector, it is not very forthcoming.
So our trade balance will not be very positive from what you are saying?
It will definitely not be very positive from where I sit. So far as the commodity trading is concerned, I remember containerized traffic contains the value-added commodities that must be exported, right? So if that is not growing as much as it should, compared with imports, we have serious imbalance.
Well, President Akufo-Addo has charged Ghanaian businesses and manufacturers to take advantage of the recently signed Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement to expand the operations. Now, the agreement was signed this year by 42 African countries to enhance trade among AU member nations. Ghana and Kenya were the first countries to present their certificates of ratification to the African Union at the headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
That business. The advantages revolve around the skills of our workforce, our attitude to work, the legal system that exists for the resolution of disputes when they do arise, and the stability of our macroeconomy. These advantages should enable us to be important beneficiaries of the impending continental free trade area, which should present immense opportunities for Ghanaian enterprise, creativity, ingenuity, and innovation. The importance to which government attaches the concept is illustrated by the fact that Ghana and Kenya are the first two countries to deposit their instruments of ratification at the AU headquarters in Addis Ababa. Government and the private sector have to work hand in hand to take advantage of this important new development. In the project for Ghana Beyond Aid, skills training and vocational education must and will take center stage as a means to dealing with youth employment, as well as sharpening our competitive edge in global trade and commerce.
Tonight, there appears to be some pressure mounting on the Bank of Ghana to quickly move in and deal with gold buying firm Menzgold. This is after preliminary investigations found that the institution had a system of accepting deposits without the central bank's approval. There's more in this next report.
According to the Bank of Ghana's own Act on Special Deposits Taking Institutions, or let's say the laws that guide operations of institutions taking deposits, any firm found to be taking deposits without the written approval from the bank must be stopped. The law, however, prescribes some steps that should be taken before the final action. For instance, the Act states, quote, where the Bank of Ghana has sufficient reason to believe that the person is transacting or carrying on a deposit-taking business in contravention to the Act, the Bank of Ghana may, in writing, authorize an officer of the Bank of Ghana to perform some functions that would possibly lead to closing down of the business. End of quote. But in response to a question at the MPC press conference, Governor of the Bank of Ghana maintained that he wants to work with the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, which issued the license before the final action is taken.
What is clear to us is that they have a system that accepts deposits from the public. That is becoming very clear. We are trying to have discussions with the ministry in charge of, is it Lands and Mineral Resources, who originally gave them their license, right? So we are trying to have discussions with the ministry on the way forward in addressing the Menzgold issue. But we are convinced that they are taking deposits. And we don't want to act alone. We want to have an action which will be also backed by another arm of the government.
But some industry players and analysts at Joy Business Engaged are of the view that the Bank of Ghana has enough evidence to take the action on Menzgold if it really believes that it's performing on illegality. Menzgold had initially maintained that they were not taking deposits but commodity trading business by just buying gold. Now it appears the latest findings suggest otherwise.
Well, we're getting some perspective to this story from a senior lecturer and economist with the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Lord Mensah, who says the central bank will struggle to deal with the proposed actions to be taken against gold buying firm Menzgold. Speaking to Joy Business, Dr. Mensah described the activities of Menzgold as an intermediary between individuals who want to buy gold and the gold market. He says their activities fall under what he describes as a derivatives market for which the central bank lacks appropriate regulations needed to deal with.
As it stands now, Menzgold is, a gold dealer. Menzgold is not registered as a deposit-taking institution. So Bank of Ghana needs to be careful as to how they handle the situation. Now, Bank of Ghana can only step in to close down. Let me go straight. Menzgold only when they realize that Menzgold has been registered as a deposit-taking institution. Therefore, individual depositors' funds are exposed. But as it stands now, they are not registered as, deposit-taking institution, therefore giving out loans here and there. But when they are in business, they ask you to bring your money. We're going to buy gold for you, right? So they are more or less mediating between the gold market and then, those who are prepared to buy gold. Now, as to whether those who are going to buy those gold, the kind of interest that they're looking out for in buying the gold, more or less depends on the gold market price. Let me put it that way. So once you put it in that form, it forms, kind of a package that will put it under derivatives, right? But then our market for derivatives is not that grown yet. So I'm wondering whether the Bank of Ghana has, that kind of regulations to say that Menzgold is operating in a form of derivatives, because the actual asset in itself, you might not get it because people buy gold, in terms of value. So therefore, waiting for appreciation of gold prices or gold, gold dust prices for them to realize their profit or interest for going on that venture. So Bank of Ghana will struggle for now as we speak as to how to control this issue.
Now, individuals who haven't paid back their student loans after years of attempts by the Ghana Student Loan Trust Fund to retrieve them will risk prosecution after next month. Chief Executive of the Students' Loan Trust Fund, Anaid J. Abua, says the fund will be heading for the courts if new measures fail to make an impact. Now, all student loan defaulters are requested to pay up or make arrangements to pay all overdue balances by Friday, 15 June.
The list of defaulters on our portfolio, we are educating the general public, letting them know where they can go to pay their loans, also reminding them of their social responsibility to pay back, So we've dedicated the whole of this month as recovery month, that we going by the use of the media, social media. We are going on these platforms to remind borrowers that they need to pay back so that we can also give back to their brothers and sisters. We've given a window. The Section 26 of the Act 820, also mandates us to publish the names of debtors. So those who, up to that point, if you don't come to make arrangements or to pay, we publish the names. And still, if they don't, we can move forward to go to circuit court and get judgment against them.
You're watching Business Live. We're moving on now. Revenue for the first quarter of this year reached 9.4 billion cedis. Figures released by the Bank of Ghana show that this was about 14% down from what has been programmed in the 2018 budget. Some analysts are describing the development as worrying, supporting calls for tax increases. Joining me in studio to understand the numbers, George Raffi. So this is just first quarter numbers. So are we running ahead of ourselves?
First 3 months of the year.
Yeah.
You want to look at these numbers and do some extrapolation. So if you're raising X amount of money every quarter, fast forward by the end of the year, you're looking at 40 billion Ghana cedis. When you go through government's own budget itself, they're looking at getting about 50 billion Ghana cedis by the end of the year. That's about 10 billion short, Darryl. And looking at a year that government is planning to embark on serious infrastructure projects, the school feeding and others, you don't want to go into the half of the year without even realizing a quarter of what you projected. So depending on where you're standing and looking at the past experiences and past data, you're worried by this trend and you want government to act or do something right now.
What about expenditure?
Well, expenditure, they've done somewhere a little over 12 billion Ghana cedis. So if you look at the deficit, you're looking at slightly around a little over 3 billion Ghana cedis. The Bank of Ghana claims that the expenditure numbers are within target. But if you engage most of our development partners, their concern has to do with revenue, and revenue.
Okay, so some analysts now calling for tax increases. Why are they asking for that?
Because certain documents that we've seen from the IMF, again, seems to suggest that they want government to come up with a more sustainable way of raising revenue. So after this year, how do we ensure that when government says that they're looking forward to maybe 70 billion Ghana cedis, that revenue will indeed come in? It looks like the tax cuts didn't help. So let's put in some revenue measures, taxes, that we know that for the next 2 years, we are short of X amount of money coming in. Don't forget, the finance minister has said that he'll be going to Parliament mid-year review to review the revenue targets or policy. So possibly there's talk about increasing property rate. Possibly, let's look at taxing more money. And all those things, Darryl.
Okay, wait and see. Thanks very much indeed, George Raffi, for helping us understand those numbers. Now, we know where she's going next. Patience Achanu, that is former Barclays Bank MD, has been appointed as the new Group Chief Executive Officer of Hollard Ghana. Holdings Limited. According to a release from Hollard Group, she is expected to start work in October this year after she officially bows out of Barclays Bank in September. There's more in the following report.
Madam Achiano recently resigned from Barclays Bank Ghana, but expected to continue until 30th September 2018 when the bank finds a successor. She now joins Hollard as new Group Chief Executive Officer of Hollard Ghana Holdings Limited. The former Barclays Bank boss worked as the Managing Director of Barclays Bank Ghana for 5 years and was the Finance Director of the bank before her elevation. Prior to joining the Barclays Bank, Madame Achiano was the Chief Finance Officer of Standard Chartered Bank of South Africa. She has over 17 years' experience in the banking industry and has a track record of building high-performing teams with a passion for excellent customer service. According to the release, Mr. Daniel Ado, the Managing Director of Hollard Insurance Ghana, and Idris Nashiru, the Managing Director of Hollard Life Assurance Ghana, will both report directly to Madame Achiano.
Let's turn to health issues now. An effective healthcare delivery is usually a challenge in most rural areas. However, in the Amansio West district of the Ashanti region, health experts are using technology to make this a thing of the past. Karen Dodo reports.
Hello, this is Kumasi South Hospital. Baby Sata on the line. How may I help you?
This is a telemedicine center. Here, nurses use mobile technology to connect community health workers with health professionals via 24-hour teleconsultant centers. Nurses and midwives in the teleconsultation centers coach community health workers and advise on the treatment of their patients, particularly in emergency cases. Here at the St. Martin's Hospital in the Ashanti region, these nurses are bridging the gap that distance has created between patients and health professionals. Esther Foyua is the head of staff at the center.
What we normally do here, or our normal operations, are to receive calls from the remote areas, that's the villages, and the call comes from facilities such as the CHIP compounds, the health centers, the clinic, and sometimes the private hospitals. So when the call comes here, one person sits at the triage area and then transfer the calls. So when that person picks the calls, she will transfer to the various booths, depending on the one who sits there. So per every shift, we have the midwives and the general nurses. And most of our cases are maternal and the general cases. So if the case happens to be maternal, then we hand over to the nurse in the booths. Then the midwife will pick and then give her interventions. But let's say that the case is beyond her. She also conferences the call to a medical officer. So the three of them will be on a conference call. The nurse here, the medical officer, and then the one who called from the periphery. So the three of them will discuss the case, and then the medical officer will give his interventions. If the case would have to be referred, then we call the referral center for them to prepare.
In the rural population where access to specialist care is limited, telemedicine is gradually making an impact. In 2016, more than half of teleconsultations could be resolved directly by phone, including 31% that avoided referrals. Head of the telemedicine coordination team in Ghana, Dr. Kwabena Boateng Boache, says the Ghana Health Service intends to introduce the TCC to all 10 regions of the country by the year 2020.
Even now, as we are talking, we are thinking even without the boss. A time will come whereby, we have other systems running now, whereby patients can call. In fact, the last time we had that telemedicine stakeholders group, there was an example called Hewale, whereby it's a system work in progress which NITA is leading, where people can call to get care from a doctor. So we are looking at all these options, but you agree with me that we start small, think big, and grow big. So, and most of the time, the burden of disease or care lies in the periphery or the primary health care level. That is not to say secondary care and tertiary care is not important. So definitely we'll get there.
The Amansio West Telemedicine Center was funded by the Novartis Foundation in collaboration with the Ghana Health Service.
And well, diagnosing diseases can sometimes be very tricky if you don't have the right medical equipment. Now, since it started operating about 8 years ago, Sunshine Healthcare has been offering world-class diagnostic expertise with a wide range of lab and imaging services. It is one of the firms you meet at the Accra Digital Center when the Joy Business Health and Wellness Trade Show opens on Thursday. Chief Executive Bernard Joseph has been speaking to us ahead of the event.
We have definitely been able to prevent a lot of deaths which would have otherwise taken place if we had not worked 24/7 in emergencies. So there are a lot of people with stroke. We have been able to do a quick diagnosis, they've been managed, and I'm sure that we have saved a lot of lives. So that's one of the biggest things that we have contributed to society. And the second thing is, of course, as I told you, that we are available on all the holidays, public holidays, etc. You'll be surprised at the number of cases that we get. May 1st was a public holiday. We did 21 CT scans. Of them, 17 were either a bleed or an infarct. And thank God that they came here, we were able to do the study, we sent them back to the doctors, those patients could be stabilized, and then probably on the second they could be attended to. So I think these are some things that we really stepped in place. Road accidents, in the night you need to do multiple x-rays. So when they just call us, we are here. The important thing is that we've been able to inform the general public that today they have access to world-class diagnostic facilities in Ghana. So you don't need to move out of the country to get these facilities, which are now available at your doorstep. So that's something that we have done. And our reports, as I told you, have gone, a lot of Ghanaians have dual citizenship. So our reports, our films, our series have been taken abroad to their specialists. It has been extremely well received. So doctors, we've been able to create an opinion that good reports can also be produced in Ghana. So I'm happy to be a part of that system.
All right, so the CEO of Sunshine Healthcare is speaking about the kind of sophisticated equipment they have and why you shouldn't go out of the country to seek medical care. Still on the upcoming trade show, we will also showcase various health insurance firms, including Apex Health Insurance. Kwensiwa Osuchumesi is chief executive of the insurance company. She explains why this event is important.
This health and wellness trade show is long overdue. We are in a country where we are now having diseases which were supposed to be or known to be for the aged coming down to infants. And we at Apex Health believe that when we have a good lifestyle, our mortality rate will increase. But we are looking at the statistics facing us and we see the mortality rate reducing. Your objective of using or of leveraging technology for affordable and accessible healthcare is very much in line with our corporate theme or our corporate strategy for this year. We've done a lot of technological interventions to make sure that our service is just at the bottom of on our phone, and you can access us at any point in time. We are very much excited to be part of this trade show because there will be a lot of benefits for Ghanaians in general and for us as well. When we look at what is happening with our health now, I think we need to do more, and the trade show is long overdue.
And we are just 2 days away from that event that opens on Thursday through till Saturday. That is at the Accra Digital Center. Just to show you, just in case you're wondering where the Digital Center is, on our map, this is where it is, just around the Kwame Nkrumah Circle interchange. If you're coming from the other side, you just have to spot the VIP bus terminal. That's easy to find, and then you make your way there. If you're coming from the other side, that is from my left where I am, then you should be looking out for the Audome Cemetery. It's just opposite the Audome Cemetery, the Accra Digital Center. That's where all the action is going to be taking place 2 days from now at the Joy Business Health and Wellness Trade Show. We are bringing together so many experts to showcase the latest when it comes to the health industry, from pharmaceuticals, the wellness industry, to herbal medicines, all that you need to know. Plus, there'll be free medical checkups for all of you. Again, it's at the Accra Digital Center. There you see on your map, just around the Kwame Nkrumah Circle interchange and close to the State Housing Corporation for all of you who know that area. My name is Darokwa. Thanks for watching our program tonight. We're back same time tomorrow.